It's that time again when I combine the two largest community coaster polls, Vote Coasters and Captain Coaster. I've averaged out the rankings of these sites for the past few years in an attempt to get the clearest picture of what coaster lovers deem the world's best rides. Both websites have thousands of users and employ similar ranking methods rooted in the pairwise comparison system originally brought into the coaster world by Mitch Hawker. However, this year Vote Coasters made an important change to its system in an attempt to get more accurate rankings for lesser-ridden rides. I'll get to that shortly. It's worth remembering that the reason Hawker wanted to use the pairwise comparison method was to even the playing field for lesser-ridden coasters. Using the points-based system of the Golden Ticket Awards, a ride at a popular park could rack up points by appearing on many lists, whereas a ride at a park fewer people had been to could struggle to rack up points, even when, this is the important part, the ride at the less visited park tended to be ranked as better than the ride at the popular park among people who had ridden both. This is where the pairwise comparison method can help. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the pairwise system, it is essentially a winning percentage for rides. This method examines every voter's list and matches up each coaster with the others. For example, take Taiga at Linnanmaki and Colossus at Thorpe Park. Perhaps 20 people have been on both. Say 15 of those people ranked Taiga ahead of Colossus and 5 people ranked Colossus ahead of Taiga. Taiga would win the matchup because more people preferred it to Colossus. Taiga gets a win and Colossus gets a loss. Taiga would then run through many more coasters to see whether it beats them or not. This culminates in a winning percentage, which rides are ranked by. This is the final ranking you see. There is a minimum number of voters required for a valid matchup. For Vote Coasters, it is 5. For Captain Coaster, it is 3. As both Captain Coaster and Vote Coasters use this pairwise method but have some differences in their rankings, I thought combining the two polls would smooth out any differences. The two sites continue to disagree rather heavily on the voyage, for example. To give more influence to the poll with more riders, last year I weighted the averages by the number of people who have ridden each ride. However, due to the fact that Captain Coaster's user base has grown significantly over the past several years, while Vote Coasters has remained relatively similar, I am not going to use weighting this year. Captain Coaster's rankings would largely overwhelm Vote Coasters. The point of me weighting by ridership was rooted in the concept that the more people give feedback, the more accurate a representation of the ride's quality we get. But is that really the case with the pairwise method? Or does it still lead to bias towards more popular rides? Last year, in reference to Captain Coaster's majority European user base, I said, even if European rides get voted on more, that should have no correlation to how high they place in the rankings. But this isn't entirely true. The team behind Vote Coasters realized that popularity still matters, so they switched to an ELO rating system in another attempt to combat bias against lesser-ridden coasters. While the pairwise method diminishes the influence that raw ridership has on a ranking, compared to something like a total point system, popularity still does affect the rankings. A heavily reviewed ride such as Terran has been ridden by more people and is more likely to get the opportunity to have more matchups. A less reviewed ride, like Taiga, is in fewer people's lists and is less likely to get as many matchups. Both Taiga and Terran are outstanding rides that are likely to win the vast majority of their matchups, which is why they should want to get as many matchups as possible. But Terran is more popular, and this gives it the chance to have more matchups. Consider this example. Imagine 20 of Terran's 2,600 riders have also been on Rorosaurus at Storyland. Terran would win this matchup, probably 20-0 or 19-1. If we assume the same proportion of Taiga's riders have been on Rorosaurus, that would mean just 2 of 230 riders have been on it. 2 mutual riders is too few for a valid matchup. Even though it is likely that Taiga would win this matchup 2-0, this is still not enough to count. It stands to reason that Taiga would win this matchup if we did have 5 people who had ridden both, but we can't say for sure, so it is at a disadvantage compared to the very popular coasters by not having the opportunity for as many matchups. Terran's popularity enables it to match up with more less-ridden coasters, which are often of lower quality, and increase its win percentage. Taiga has fewer riders and fewer chances to get the valid matchups that would likely boost its win percentage. There is another crucial idea to consider within this example. Every win has the same amount of influence on the ride's win percentage. Terran winning its matchup over Rorosaurus counts the same as winning a matchup against Fury 325, and the same as winning a matchup against Flight Deck at Canada's Wonderland. But we know implicitly that these wins aren't all exactly equal. We understand that winning a matchup against Flight Deck is so easy that it is practically meaningless. I could build a coaster in my backyard that is better than Flight Deck. Winning a matchup against Rorosaurus is a bit more impressive, a more medium difficulty opponent. Winning a matchup against Fury 325 is extremely impressive, as it is a legendary attraction. Assigning a specific number of points to your win based on the quality of the ride you beat helps fix this, and this is what the ELO system, now used by Vote Coasters, does. Now Terran can't rack up wins over medium or easy difficulty opponents and pad its stats over lesser-ridden rides. These wins over lightweights will not have as much influence, and they shouldn't. Not all losses are created equal, either. Rides also have to guard against upsets. Terran would also lose a lot of points if it lost a matchup to a middleweight it was expected to beat, like Rorosaurus. So with these new considerations, rides with lots of matchups do not get the advantages that they did before. So how do we get the poll to understand how good a coaster is, and by extension how impressive a win is? Well, we use the whole history rating, a version of the ELO system which constantly readjusts how many points a win or loss is worth as more matchups play out. When ELO is used in chess or a sports game, matchups happen one at a time, but the dimension of time does not matter to our coaster poll. It should not matter whether Wicked Cyclone duels Comet first or last, but if this matchup goes first, when all coasters start off with equal ELO ratings, it would count differently than if it goes last, when the poll has a full picture of how good these coasters are in respect to each other. This is why the WHR is based on constant readjustments, so the points won or lost changes when new information is gathered. If this matchup is first, then they have equal ELO ratings. Say Wicked Cyclone wins and gets 10 points. Comet loses 10 points. But as the poll learns more information, it understands that Wicked Cyclone is considered to be an outstanding ride, and Comet beating it would be an upset. Retroactively, it can go back and make Wicked Cyclone only gain 5 points. This ensures that the order of the matchups does not play a part in determining the rank. There's even more to Vote Coaster's ELO system, like each coaster starting with an ELO rating of 1000 and running the code 250 times with the matchups happening in a different order. There's the uncertainty value it produces, which is often higher for coasters that have less data. I admit to not being able to understand all of it. I could spend more time on this, but then the video would get too long. Besides, you want to see the rankings. Hopefully you get the picture of what Vote Coasters is trying to account for this year. 4 coasters from last year's top 50 got bumped out. These are Mako, Railblazer, Medusa Steel Coaster, and Phoenix. Now here is the new top 50. Number 50 is Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England, an Intamin Hyper. Number 49 is Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood, a Morgan Hyper. Number 48 is Millennium Force at Cedar Point, an Intamin Giga. Number 47 is Phoenix at Faroop Summerland, a Vekoma Wildcat. Number 46 is Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City, a Mach Extreme Spinner. Number 45 is Lek Coaster at Legendia, a Vekoma Bermuda Blitz. Number 44 is Flying Aces at Ferrari World, an Intamin Hyper. Number 43 is Dinoconda at China Dinosaurs Park, an SNS 4D coaster. Number 42 is Flying Dinosaur at Universal Studios Japan, a B&M Flyer. Number 41 is Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom, an RMC conversion. Number 40 is Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, an Intamin multi-launch. Number 39 is Hyperia at Thorpe Park, a Mach Hyper. Number 38 is Schwer des Carnen at Hansa Park, a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster. Number 37 is FLY at Phantasialand, a Vekoma Flyer. Number 36 is Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, an RMC Hybrid. Number 35 is X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain, an Aero 4D coaster. Number 34 is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England, an RMC Hybrid. Number 33 is Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain, an RMC Hybrid. Number 32 is Shambhala at PortAventura, a B&M Hyper. Number 31 is Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City, an RMC Woody. Number 30 is DC Rivals Hypercoaster at Warner Bros. Movie World, a Mach Hyper. Number 29 is Skyrush at Hershey Park, an Intamin Hyper. Number 28 is Hyperion at Energylandia, an Intamin Hyper. Number 27 is Expedition G-Force at Holiday Park, an Intamin Mega. Number 26 is Helix at Liseberg, a Mach multi-launch. Number 25 is The Voyage at Holiday World, a Gravity Group Woody. Number 24 is T-Express at Everland, an Intamin Prefab Woody. Number 23 is Wildfire at Colmarden, an RMC Woody. Number 22 is Conda at Wallaby Belgium, an Intamin Mega. Number 21 is Lightning Rod at Dollywood, an RMC steel coaster with a chain lift. Number 20 is Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion, an RMC hybrid. Number 19 is Terran at Phantasialand, an Intamin multi-launch. Number 18 is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure, an Intamin prefab Woody. Number 17 is Maverick at Cedar Point, an Intamin Blitz coaster. Number 16 is Tutatis at Park Asterix, an Intamin multi-launch. Number 15 is Project 305 at King's Dominion, an Intamin Giga. Number 14 is Untamed at Wallaby Holland, an RMC hybrid. Number 13 is Voltron at Europa Park, a mock striker coaster. Number 12 is Wildcat's Revenge at Hershey Park, an RMC hybrid. Number 11 is Batman Gotham City Escape at Park Warner Madrid, an Intamin multi-launch. Number 10 is Edgenica at Fuji-Q Highland, an SNS 4D coaster. Number 9 is Fury 325 at Carowinds, a B&M Giga. Number 8 is Taiga at Linen Maki, an Intamin multi-launch. Number 7 is Airy Force 1 at Fun Spot Atlanta, an RMC. Number 6 is Hakuge at Nagashima Spa Land, an RMC hybrid. Number 5 is Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland Japan, a mock extreme spinner. Number 4 is Velocicoaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure, an Intamin multi-launch. Number 3 is Zadra at Energylandia, an RMC hybrid. Number 2 is Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa, an RMC hybrid. Number 1 is Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point, an RMC hybrid. The list hasn't changed a whole lot, which is good and indicates that the polls are reliable. The ELO rating did not radically change VoteCoaster's rankings, but was just a way of fine-tuning the system for a few fringe cases. Where we can see a difference due to the ELO rating is in previous year's rankings. The ELO system was also retroactively applied to the past few years of rankings on VoteCoasters. According to the current website, you'll find Edgenica placed 15th in the poll in 2022. However, in my video from last year, I point out that it finished in 61st place, which was true at the time, but now the rankings have been updated. Should we have a problem with this rewriting of history? I don't think so. After all, this placement is more indicative of what people actually thought of the ride. We just needed better methods to capture it. Edgenica has been steady in the top 15 on Captain Coaster, and it has jumped up on VoteCoasters through the years in agreement. There are still a few coasters that the sites disagree on. The 33-spot difference of the Voyage continues to fascinate me. Boulder Dash and Hades 360 also have very different placements. A few Chinese coasters also have large discrepancies that could still be a product of limited data. To summarize, VoteCoasters and Captain Coaster have their differences despite appearing similar at first glance. VoteCoasters being solely dedicated to coaster polling means they focus more on making sure that they use the best methodology. Since they're yearly, they can't amass users over time the same way Captain Coaster does, instead requiring people to return each year to rank rides. But the users who do contribute tend to rank more coasters in their list than users on Captain Coaster. Though Captain Coaster users do contribute more ratings with the less precise star rating, which can still count towards the pairwise system. It's just if you give two coasters the same star rating, you won't actually contribute towards informing which coaster is better than the other, unless you go into your tops list and make the distinction. So, Captain Coaster has a good ranking system, lets you leave and read reviews, and has several cool features like maps and personal custom lists. It also still has defunct coasters, which can be nice to view. VoteCoasters is totally dedicated to its rankings, has the most advanced methodology, and has a more evenly distributed user base. It is also more likely to not be using older data since it requires users to resubmit lists every year. They are both great sites, and I see less of a need to combine them together now. I'm not sure if I'll do an extensive comparison video next year. Maybe I'll do a smaller video, maybe I'll do no video. But if there's more to report regarding the past, present, and future of coaster polling, I'll be sure to inform you all. What began with me explaining the problems with the points-based system of the GTAs has taken me on a long journey of how opinion polling works in the coaster world. Sometimes I didn't even get it all straight, but I hope you learned something. And remember, everybody has different opinions. Thanks for watching.